Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about the boomers. I've been thinking about it the last couple of days since that whole No King's Day shit, you know what I mean? And I see this stuff online and all this shit that boomers post and all the stuff they've done throughout history, you know, spitting on Vietnam veterans when they returned home. And a lot of these poor bastards were drafted into that war. Okay, they were drafted. And a lot of us already know that, but those of you who don't, these guys didn't volunteer to go over there and fight in the Vietnam War. A lot of them. Some of them did, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them were drafted, and you know, the government threatened to imprison them if they didn't go to war, and then they returned back to a war they didn't even want to go fight in the first damn place, and get spit on by this subset of boomers rather. So and then later on, you know, in the 70s and 80s, these boomers are neglecting their kids and their students and shit, just not giving a shit about the kids at the time. And now today, we see them, you know, vandalizing Teslas and spanking Trump dolls and, you know, protesting No King's Day and all this shit. And neglecting their duties as the elders, the, you know, grandparents, just by, you know, from setting an example. And I'm not talking about all baby boomers. I'm talking about every single person born between 1945 and 1965. But there is a significant part of that population that is just utterly ridiculous, in my opinion. And those are the people that I'm talking about. And I actually feel bad for the common sense, just average normal person who happens to be a baby boomer who is, you know, lumped in with these morons. But regardless of that, throughout history, this group of people, since they were old enough to start making decisions for their own, they've made bad, moronic decisions, and they're continuing to do so into retirement and old age. And I'm not angry at them for being morons and for acting stupidly and doing this shit. Don't get me wrong, I'm not angry, but I feel a certain level of disgust when I see them acting out like this. You know, it's like you know, watching a baby, an infant, rub feces all over itself. You know what I mean? You're not really angry at the kid. The baby's doing, that's baby stuff. Babies do baby stuff. They play with poop and stuff like that, right? But at the same time, you watch the behavior and there's a level of disgust, you know? Now, somebody's got to clean that shit up. Somebody's got to clean this mess up. So, and that's what, in my opinion, that's what this group of boomers has done to our country and Western civilization. They've made a mess of it, and somebody's going to have to clean it up. You know what I'm saying? Or just, you know, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Start from scratch. Hopefully we can do something, but who knows? Who the hell knows? Who the hell cares? You know, but you got to point out the obvious when you see this kind of bullshit happening. And as I said, I've seen it my entire life. I've watched it my entire life. Now, when I was younger, when I was a little kid, I didn't really understand. You know, that was just all, you know, all kids were just kind of doing the same thing. But as I grew older, and, you know, you start paying more attention to things, you know, you hear, like, on that movie First Blood, where Sylvester Stallone said they spitting on me when I came home from the war and stuff, and, you know, you hear that they were spitting on Vietnam veterans, and you wonder about that. Why? Why would they do that? You know, and there was that sentiment about Vietnam and all that, and the veterans were left over there. Some of those POWs were left over there and stuff, and so that was a kind of confusing time as a kid, you know, growing up in post-Vietnam era, and not knowing how to feel really about, you know, Vietnam veterans or stuff as a little kid. You know, were they bad to be? You know, why'd they get spit on? Were they bad people coming home? What'd they do? Were they, you know, did they deserve it and stuff like that? But you know, as you grow up, you figure it out that the people spitting on them were just morons, and you know, they should have been angry at the people who sent them over there, not the people who got sent over there. You know, now they're, you know, recently these boomers were out there keying Teslas and doing all this stupid shit because the CEO of Tesla was trying to save them money, was actually trying to cut the costs, cut the waste by the federal government, cut back on the waste, and that made them so angry that they went and keyed their neighbor's Tesla, destroyed their neighbor's property. It wasn't Elon Musk's Tesla that they were vandalizing. It was their neighbor's Tesla. The level of stupidity there, and these people are compounding the stupidity. Now they're protesting against a king that doesn't exist. They're protesting No King's Day in the United States of America, a constitutional republic. I can't think of a more ridiculous place to, you know, to protest a No King's Day. Maybe Mars or Jupiter or something. Maybe Antarctica, where there's nobody at all. There's no population. Nobody lives. Maybe go down there. Maybe there might be a dumber place to have a No King's Day. I don't know. But the level of stupidity for these people is just astounding, and they're highly susceptible to brainwashing and propaganda. Right? They're literally just herded around like sheep. They're just told where to go and they go. They no qualms. That one of the most retarded things I've ever seen was that old man spanking that Trump doll, telling it, you know, there was a booth at the last King's rally, the first one, No King's rally. They had a booth, and somebody was sitting behind the booth and had Trump dolls, and this old man walks up there, about 70, 75, something like that. Old man walks up to the booth, and the person sitting behind the booth hands him a Trump doll, and he starts spanking the Trump doll. The old man did, saying stuff like bad boy, naughty boy, and stuff like that. And then people started clapping and cheering, you know, as if the guy was doing something constructive or, you know, or something good for our civilization and for, you know, for humanity by spanking a Trump doll. You know, for the guy to do it in the first place is just utterly ridiculous. But then for people around to celebrate it, holy shit. Yeah. And you wonder why Generation X is just whatever, you know, so whatever. Y'all just go do you. Yeah, I don't want any part of that bullshit. Just leave me the hell alone. Don't drag me into that crazy bullshit. I know. Y'all go ahead, burn it down, whatever, dude. So yeah, the longer it goes with this whole just this civilization, this country we have in my lifetime anyway, the worse these boomers are getting. And I see that they've had a strong hand in, in the decline of our country. They've had a very strong hand throughout the last 40, 50 years in just steering our country off the bridge. So yeah, not that everybody deserves their share of credit. I'm sure Generation X, we bought into some of that consumerism, and a lot of us didn't. A lot of us have rejected that shit, but there are a share of Gen Xers who deserve their share of the blame. But at least we're not putting on costumes and going out there and protesting imaginary kings, and we're not all of them, the vast majority of us anyway. We're not the face of the movement anyway, right? We're not the face of the movement. There might be some of us out there doing that dumb shit, but we're not the face of the movement like the boomers and Gen Z and stuff out there keying our neighbor's vehicle because we don't like what some celebrity said halfway across the country. Yeah. So I just wanted to get that off my chest, that the boomers, their behavior is disgusting, it's abhorrent, and that's what they're teaching the younger generation. So how the hell can we fault these young kids for being completely spastic and acting moronic when look at the example that's being set for them, right? It's disgusting. I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can hit that hype button. Hit that hype button for me and hype this video if you enjoyed it. If you'd like to become a member and get your name on the banner down here, I'll put that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee, I'll put that link down in the description too, and thank you very much those of you who do that. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble, Gen X things and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mug stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll put that link down in the description as well. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out one hell of a lot, so thank you very much to those of you who do that. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.